underway, broadcasting to you from our North Catholic studios in Cranberry Township for this first episode of our podcast on North Catholic Athletics. My name is Alex Brown alongside Ryan Berry and Callie Martis, as we are very excited to get this new podcast season underway for the North Catholic fall sports. And we're going to start, guys, with going over football. Football season has been fast and furious so far, as we're 6 games of the way through the season.
Yep, and there's been a lot of fun, exciting games. North Catholic has been close in basically every game they've played, especially in the ones they lost, other than Aliquippa. They lost to Shadyside in overtime and lost to Armstrong by 1 point. So even the games they're losing, they're playing close. But they're trying to get into more of a rhythm offensively. The defense has stepped up and played a lot better, but offensively, they need to find something, get the rhythm going a little bit, because the consistency has been lacking on offense for the Trojans so far this year.
Yeah, North Catholic, especially in last game, going off with what you said, Ryan, against Armstrong, they lost 21-20. And North Catholic did have a lot of opportunities on offense, but they just couldn't finish pretty much the whole game.
North Catholic right now, 3-3 overall, 2-1 in section play. They're right now third in their section, right behind Hampton and Mars. They play Hampton this week. North Catholic, we've seen a lot of their games, Ryan, over the course of this season, and been there in person for them. What do you think are some of the progressions you've seen throughout the year, on either side of the ball that you've seen?
I'll start with defense. They're getting more pressure on the quarterback. I mean, Armstrong, I don't remember. I think it was Oliver was the name of the quarterback for Armstrong. He had a great arm, and he was throwing darts in the first half and a little bit in the second half, but they were able to get to him, get pressure to make sure he wasn't able to do that consistently. He still beat him because he had a great arm, but they were able to get more pressure on him, which caused him to have to make some rough throws, and which created 2 interceptions for North Catholic. And then offensively, they've gotten a little bit more rhythm running the ball. Throwing the ball is still hasn't been consistent, and that's something they're looking to change going into Hampton, trying to make some changes there, see if it sparks the offense a little bit. But the offense just hasn't been consistent. They haven't been able to finish in the red zone, and that's been the biggest thing against Armstrong. They came out, went in the red zone inside the 10-yard line, first and goal, and went in right away. That has something we hadn't seen in the prior weeks, but in the second half, they weren't able to finish again. So it's that problem that they aren't able to fix, which is finishing in the red zone, which has been a problem for the team all year. That needs to be fixed if they want to make a playoff run.
And Callie, you're down at the field level for a lot of these games. What is something you're seeing from the sideline in terms of intensity over the course of the game? Has that been good on the North Catholic sideline? Are they locked in?
Oh, yeah, North Catholic from the start, they're locked in. They're ready to go. Last game, it was a little rough, losing by 1 point. You definitely saw some frustration against Armstrong in the second half for sure, but Coach Rizzo does a great job of keeping the boys in the game, and overall, the sidelines, high energy out there.
And the game against Hampton, it's very crucial, as Hampton is 2-0 in section. They had a win over Armstrong. Armstrong in that game did have to put in a backup quarterback a couple times.
But the thing that was weird in that game, sorry to interject, Ryan,
yep.
But in that game, Oliver was great. Oliver was great in that game. He threw when he came in against Hampton, because Colt Sprinkle was our starter. He checked out, but coming into the game was Oliver. Oliver already had about 28 snaps on the year through the first 4 games of the season. And then he steps in, starting in the 5th game after the injury to Sprinkle. He threw for 270 yards in that game. 270 yards against Hampton, and they came up just short. But as you said, Ryan, this is a big game.
It is, and it does a lot tiebreaker-wise. If you beat Hampton, you're 3-1. Hampton moves down to 2-1 with 1 less game played in conference. I mean, that just gives you the tiebreaker. You already have the tiebreaker over Kiski, and you beat Highlands as well. So Highlands right now is 1-2, Kiski's 1-2. So those are 2 teams you should finish above, but to win against Hampton, get the tiebreaker against them will be crucial come seeding time for the playoffs. As North Catholic in that last game last year against Mars lost to Mars, which eliminated them from playoff contention. So those tiebreakers, if North Catholic would have won the Mars game, would have been very crucial. To get the tiebreakers this year is even more crucial.
North Catholic last year just missed out on the playoffs, 3-3. 2 other teams were 3-3 that got in. Hampton was one of them, and another one was Mars. Those 2 teams are ahead of North Catholic right now, and still on the agenda for North Catholic in section play this year. So North Catholic with 2 wins already in section. If they get at least 1 more, then you're pretty much knocking on the door of getting a playoff spot, and you get 1 more after that. So let's say you win 2 of their next 3 section games, which would be a challenge, but they should beat Indiana. Indiana's terrible. Indiana's not going to win a game in section this year unless a miracle happens. But that should be a game where North Catholic wins, and then you take one of either Mars or Hampton. Hampton this year is 2-4. Their only wins come in section. Outside of the section, they've lost every game. They're giving up an average of 37 points per game. So this should be a great opportunity for the North Catholic offense to get on the right track.
Yeah, for sure. North Catholic definitely has the advantage in their next upcoming games, and it'll give them a good chance to get a playoff spot this year.
Yeah, but even that non-conference game they have against Avonworth, though,
Yes,
it doesn't matter win or loss-wise in that game, but to get the experience against one of the best teams.
Great point.
And I mean, they're a 3A team, but they're probably one of
They're
the
ranked high. They're
I would
ranked
say
high.
they're the top 5 team in the entire Whitfield with the way they play defense and are
Great
able
point.
to run the ball. Like to get that experience against them is something that's going to be crucial for the Trojans because they're going to. Avonworth is a better team than North Catholic will face all year, maybe besides Aliquippa, but Aliquippa has had some close calls. I could say Avonworth might even be better than Aliquippa, but to get that experience against a team the caliber of Avonworth will be very crucial for the Trojans.
without a doubt. And the North Catholic football team will be playing Avonworth next week after their game against Hampton. And so 2 big games for North Catholic here in the future, and we'll be covering the one in 2 weeks on the North Catholic Sports Network. But all of us will be on the call for that one when they play Indiana at home for senior night. And now let's move on to North Catholic girls volleyball team, which has had another fantastic season so far, and they're just cleaning up their section.
Yeah, they are, and I feel like every year we've been here, Alex said the same thing. This girls' volleyball team is the top team in their section, and that hasn't changed even with losing some starters from last year. They picked up right where they left off with, and they took NA, who is arguably the best team in all of the Whitfield, to 5 sets and lost by, was it 2 points or 3 points?
It was really close.
It was a close one, but that just shows how talented this team is and how poised they are for another run to the Whitfield Championship and then a run in the States as well.
And they're having another great year in section. They rarely lose a set in section, so they've been doing fantastic, and they're continuing that again this year. And it's I think it's going to be a tougher go for North Catholic. And anytime you lose as many players as they did from last year's roster, they lost 6 players from last year's roster. 3 of those players were all state players. That is tough to lose. Tough to lose and then come back and be successful the next year, Callie.
For sure. I mean, they lost, like you said, the 3 state players, but it looks like it didn't really affect them that much. I mean, they won their game against their 4 recent games. They've won all 4. They won against Knock 3-0, and then Bishop Canevin 3-1, and then shut out Blackhawk and Ambridge. So they've been doing really well this season.
Knock and Blackhawk, 2 of the teams you just mentioned, they're right behind them in their section. So those are 2 of the other top teams in their section, and they're beating them handily. If you look at the other sections of 3A, there's some tough teams there. Thomas Jefferson gave North Catholic a lot of problems last year, but there's some good teams.
Yeah, Hampton is 13-0 overall. They're 8-0 in conference. Oakland Catholic is good as well,
Yes.
9-2 overall, 6-1 in conference. As you mentioned, Thomas Jefferson 9-0 in conference. And then Latrobe is 7-1 in conference, 9-3 overall. I mean, you look at those teams; those are all teams that are going to be battling in the playoffs, and those are 6 teams that I'd say have a good chance at making it to the finals. North Catholic will have to
Absolutely.
go through those teams, which is probably better competition they've faced the last 2 years. I'll
Yes.
defer to you two because you've been at more volleyball games than I have. But it seems to me like just watching North Catholic play in the one game that I broadcasted, their communication and their ability to rebound and go on runs is just something that not many teams can have and replicate in high school volleyball.
And a lot of players had to step up this year for the Trojanettes. Camden Gonzalez has been excellent on the outside. So is Brooke Shulo, Megan Becker down the middle. So that front line, Claire Beeman as well has been great. That's been crucial to the overall success of this team this year because that they didn't have those opportunities last year to step up, and now they're stepping up and they're doing it in a big way. Sienna Caza is masterful as their setter, and Ella Kazera, remarkable season so far. And the back line really needs no superlatives to describe their play because they're just outstanding. And that's the only superlative I'll use. But it's Rebecca Fesco back there, Alex Sepsic, and Inyella Baylogger, their starters back there, and they do a remarkable job. And the road ahead for North Catholic looks pretty good. They play Newcastle tonight as we're recording on Thursday the 5th. Newcastle's not good. They'll beat Newcastle handily 3-0. And the only win Newcastle has in section is against Lincoln Park, who's not won a game in section. And North Catholic is going to be sitting pretty good as we head down the stretch towards the playoffs, which are not far away for a lot of these teams. And another team that's going to be gearing up here for soon is the North Catholic girls soccer team, who has had a great stretch of things recently. In particular, a big win against Avonworth, Ryan, that we were there for just last week.
And that was a big one. They almost beat them the first time, lost 3-2 in overtime, but they're getting into gear. They're playing really good. Beat Quaker Valley in overtime 2-1, 2 goals by Petey Mealy. She had 3 goals against Beaver as well, so she's been scoring a lot, leading North Catholic scoring-wise. But, yeah, I mean, it seems like every year, girls volleyball and girls soccer are always the teams we're talking about at the top of the division. But they got to win out to have a chance to win the sections. Avonworth and North Catholic are both tied. I'm not exactly sure what the tiebreaker is.
It would just be a shared championship.
Shared championship. So the seeding would be interesting how they would do that.
It would be. You would think hopefully they're on opposite sides.
Yeah, they should be. But Quaker Valley is another team. North Catholic beat them both times, but it was only a 1-goal game in both. So that's another sneaky team that if you face them in the playoffs, you don't know what direction that's going to go.
And to me, Quaker Valley looked a lot better than Beaver, who was supposed to be a higher team this year in terms on the standings. And they definitely, at least if they're not better, they played North Catholic better than Beaver did, for sure. As North Catholic beat Beaver 3-0 pretty handily in that contest, where Petey Mealy got all 3 goals in that hat trick, because she's been scoring a lot lately for the Trojanettes. Simone Sharpless is named the Player of the Week for North Catholic High School, as she has had a remarkable stretch as well, scoring that lone goal against Avonworth and then 4 against Ambridge last week in 2 big contests there. And she got the assist on Mealy's goal against Quaker Valley at the end of that game. In that game, the lights went out at J.C. Stone Field, so it was a great night of soccer under the lights, or the lack thereof of the lights at J.C. Stone Field. And this team, Ryan, where do you see them here in the playoffs? They're coming in with a lot of momentum, and where do you see their trajectory here as we wind down the season?
Well, I guess you can't really tell now until you know the seeding, but they're
Yes.
going to be motivated, I would hope. I mean, losing to Avonworth in the playoffs the past 2 years is something that you don't want to do, especially after beating them 2 times in the regular season last year, then lost in the playoffs. This year they split in the regular season. If they face in the playoffs, it's going to be a fun one. It always is between those teams, but it just seems like you always have your eye on Avonworth as the back-to-back Whitfield champions. So just going in and being motivated. I mean, they have a lot of seniors on this team that have been through those losses, and the veteran leadership on this team by all the players is really, really impressive.
They've played Avonworth 9 times in the past 3 years at this point. Callie, when you have play a team like that so often, the familiarity level between the two teams not only goes up, but the rivalry has to as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure. North Catholic, Avonworth, big rivalry. It's always a good game, as you mentioned earlier that they won the last match 1-0. So I feel like that's definitely going to be a big playoff match if they meet each other there.
The other soccer team for North Catholic boys soccer team, has had a great stretch as well recently, as they're climbing in the standings. Right now sitting 3rd in Section 1 of Class 3A behind Hampton and Mars. Sound familiar to the football team? It does, because it's accurate. But Hampton has been remarkable this season in Class 3A. They're cleaning up 9-0 in conference, and they're 11-1-1 overall. Mars 6-2 in their section or conference, and 8-3-1 overall. North Catholic has split the contest with Mars 1-1, and they've lost to Hampton in that lone time they played.
In both teams, Mars beat North Catholic 3-0 at J.C. Stone, and then North Catholic beat Mars 3-0 at, I don't even know what the stand is. It Mars Field? Mars Field. Yep. So, I mean, those two teams are going to be battling for that final seed. North Catholic with a win against Kiski, if they can get that tonight, the Thursday, the 5th, October 5th, that we're making this podcast, that would be really big, and pretty much clinch the playoffs for the Trojans, as they do face Indiana again, which is another big contest with Indiana. A couple games behind the Trojans, but they haven't been good in non-conference play. In conference play, they've been much better. They lost to Hampton, and nobody in conference has beaten Hampton. But they're playing good. And it has to get better if they want to make a run and get a better seed heading into playoffs. But they seem to be finding a little bit more rhythm defensively. It seemed like they were letting up a lot of goals earlier in the season. They're still not scoring a bunch other than the Kiski game, but they're able to get, for the most part, at least 2 goals in the game, which can win you the majority of games in high school soccer.
Without a doubt. And they still have Highlands on their schedule next week as well. That's going to be a big game for North Catholic as well. Highlands has not won a game in the section, but another win there is going to bump them up to 7-3 if they win tonight against Kiski. And Callie, when you're heading into the playoffs, especially with low momentum, that has to give the team some confidence, don't you think?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. The boys, they've definitely bounced back from that 3-0 loss to Mars, and they won against Indiana 2-0. They've been doing. They need to get a little better on offense, maybe get a couple more goals, finish those passes, and but North Catholic's been doing well. They've been winning a lot more of those 50-50 balls out on the field.
Well said. Absolutely. And Jake Stofko right now has been playing out of his mind for North Catholic, scoring a lot of goals in the last couple of weeks. And he got one against Indiana, one of the two against Indiana. Justin Garvey got the other goal. Justin Garvey's had a great last couple of games as well for North Catholic as the midfield anchored by Francisco Smith has really been impressive, generating offense. In the defense, Nate Ball back there, another senior for North Catholic. Mike Akembo, a senior up in the forward position, have really all been gelling together here recently. And any team that you have some confidence with, if this team is locked in, I think they're going to be a dangerous team here in the playoffs. Because as soon as they all buy in, when they're all buying into a game and they don't get down on themselves, that's a tough team to beat in North Catholic. So we'll see how that progresses as we knock on the door of the playoffs with just 3 games remaining for the Trojans. And the North Catholic cross-country team, the boys and girls teams have been remarkable this season, guys. The girls team 9-0 overall, won the section.
They won 2 invitational tournaments as well. I mean, they've just been so dominant. And the boys cross-country team has been successful as well. So Giacomo Lepore, who is up for is it Whippy or PA Athlete of the Week?
PA cross-country track athlete of the week.
So yeah, and he's in. I think he might be in first or second place in that. So if you listen to this, go on and vote for him. But he's been incredible. He had a 15:49 3-mile time in his last race. He's just been very impressive. He's North Catholic Athlete of the Week a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
So both cross-country teams have been really impressive this year so far.
Without a doubt. And some of those younger runners on some of these teams, too. Gracie Plastino has been fantastic for the girls' team, among others. Grace Lazarus had a great season. There's just been so many runners that have really stepped up, Callie, for this team.
Oh, yeah. Both cross-country teams for boys and girls have been outstanding, really, this season. They've been really well, as you said, like top of the standings. It's been a really good season for both teams.
Giacomo Lepore actually even ran an even faster time. I believe it was against Hampton a couple weeks ago, a 15:43 5K time. So he is running at the right speed at the right time, and he won an invitation over the weekend. The Penn Youth, I believe it's called the Penn Youth Invitational. And out of 350 runners that signed up, he was the fastest guy there. And
that's really impressive.
He had an incredible time. He's the first North Catholic boys runner, to ever win a invitational event. And what a time to do it for North Catholic.
Oh, yeah.
As Coach Tim has got his guys and gals running in the right form at the right time as we start to head closer to their WPIAL meets as this year progresses. And what a year for both of those teams and those guys individually. Tyler Carroll, another gentleman who's had a fantastic season for the boys cross-country team. And the tennis team, the girls tennis team for North Catholic, has had a great season as well. And they have risen to the top of their section. And now they're in doubles tournaments now as this year progresses. Katie Hardy and her partner, Bree Kelly, have now qualified for states in doubles. So the season continues for those two remarkable athletes as they've had a fantastic season on the girls tennis team. The girls tennis team only lost to Knock in section play. Knock's the defending state champions. So a great team there, and they're keeping it competitive with them in those matches as their season continues to progress, as they'll be the 3 seed next week when the WPIALs start. So we wish them all the best of luck in those contests, as they've had a fantastic season, and it's going to continue. Coach Malone, one of the coaches for their team, Sean Malone, on the broadcast, our statistician for the football games. So under his tutelage, not much can go wrong, and that's been proven by these girls this year. They've had a lot of younger players on that team. They've done a remarkable job this season. And let's move on to the golf teams. The North Catholic boys and girls golf teams have had remarkable seasons. Ryan Berry, Callie Martis, two of the golfers on their respective varsity teams, have had a remarkable season. And Callie, is there anything you would like to say about the girls team this year and the first year of the North Catholic girls golf team?
Yeah, it was an awesome first year. I had so much fun. All my teammates, we had a great time, and we actually came up with a big last final win against Seton LaSalle. We beat them 206 to 221, and they're actually a playoff team, so it was a big win for us for sure. And overall, a great first season for girls golf.
Without a doubt, remarkable job under Coach Parrish's, Mr. Ryan Parrish's coaching or lack thereof. Of coach, he's had a great job. Done a great job of running the golf teams this year, and next year will be the first time the girls' golf team will be in the WPIAL playoffs.
Yes,
so that'll be exciting.
Exciting.
And
for sure.
Everyone will be back next year as well, which would be great to have everyone have that opportunity as that team continues to expand. But what a great season, Callie! What a great season. What's your best score this year?
47.
47, remarkable, 47. And Ryan, your team had a great year as well. Against some tough opponents, you outlasted many, and you and Ben Condravy made it to the WPIAL qualifiers in a big accomplishment, along with some of the top 90 golfers in the WPIAL and at Latrobe. And you had a great season, Ryan. Anything you'd like to say about the season for your varsity team?
Yeah, well, we had a good year. Probably not the year we hoped. Tough section with Shaler and Fox Chapel, two of the best teams in conference. Shaler had all 6 of their players qualify for the WPIAL playoffs. We had 2. Fox Chapel had 5 of their 6 qualify. So those teams are just really talented top from bottom. But we won a good amount of matches. We lost some close ones. Lost to Shady Side by 2 towards the stretch of the season, which eliminated us from playoffs. Then lost to Fox Chapel by 10, and then Hampton by 7. So this close calls really kicked us out of the playoffs at the end. But we had a fun year, and good to play varsity golf senior year. It was a lot of fun, and next year they'll be good as well with a lot of good players coming up.
Without a doubt. What was your best score this year?
37.
37.
That's really impressive.
137 at last match of the year at a last team match.
What a good time to have it. And you moved on to WPIALs, and that was a big deal. Big deal for your team, and a great year for the senior out of Wexford, PA, Ryan Berry.
Wexford?
Well, you're out off the Wexford exit. What would you call it?
It's Franklin Park.
Out of Franklin Park.
But
the
my
senior
birth
out of Franklin Park.
It says technically Pittsburgh. So
technically Pittsburgh is the 412 number downtown. And that's all we have for today. Oh, wait, one more thing. One more note. A couple weeks ago, we were at the Trojan Open. This is never heard before footage of our interviews with 2 members that were at that golf outing. And here's a listen to those now. I'm here with Mr. Mike Balf of the class of 87 and former valedictorian of North Catholic. Mr. Balf, thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to be here.
Mr. Balf, what has the impact of North Catholic been on your life?
It's had a major impact. Probably the biggest thing were the relationships that I formed at North Catholic. Friends that are friends for life. I've been graduated for, over 30 years now, and still friends with many of my classmates, and I'm going to be playing with some of them today.
You have 8 representatives of the class of 87 here today in 2 groupings. How tight is that bond since you've left North Catholic among alums?
It's a very tight bond. We don't see each other all the time, but probably a few times each year, and we stay in touch. Social media has made things easier these days, for communicating, and we get together, Christmas cards to each other, send Christmas cards to each other. So they're strong bonds.
That's fantastic. Tell us about what you've done since North Catholic and your career since.
Well, after North Catholic, I went on to Notre Dame for my undergraduate, majored in accounting. Following Notre Dame, graduation from Notre Dame, I went on to law school at Duke University. And after graduating from Duke, took the bar exam. I also took the CPA exam. And I've gone on to a career in tax law. And I've worked in that field for, oh boy, it's almost 30 years now.
Well, that's fantastic. Another success story from North Catholic, that's for sure. Between Notre Dame and Duke, where's your allegiance lie in terms of who you support more?
Well, I can take the easy road, which is Notre Dame for football, Duke for basketball.
Oh, there we go. That's right. Hey, Duke, not too bad football the other day, though, against Clemson. Big win. Big win. What do you see as the impact of Catholic education on students today?
Well, I think that it is important for forming a foundation of good values, morality. The Catholic education offers things that they can't do in the public schools. And I think it's very important for our young people to have that foundation that they need to go out into adult life and face this world that has so many challenges. And have that foundation of faith is just invaluable.
And my final question is, where does your golf game stack up against the rest of the members of your foursome?
Well, put it this way, I'm glad it's a scramble.
Yeah.
And
you buying a couple mulligans today?
yeah,
maybe?
I bought a couple mulligans.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many of my balls will be using in the scramble, but I'll go out and give it my best.
Fantastic. Hey, thank you very much for coming and supporting North Catholic, and congratulations on your success in your career.
Thank you.
I'm here with North Catholic Vice Principal, Mr. Bensing. Mr. Bensing, thank you for coming on the podcast today.
Hey, thanks for having me today, Ryan.
Mr. Bensing, to start off, what is the impact of Catholic education on a student? Why is it so important to have a Catholic education?
I mean, look at the history of it. Look at our foundations that we come from. Like this is our chance to, continue building the faith, and like you guys coming up through the ranks, the ones coming through the ranks 20 years from now, 40 years from now, we're all gonna have that same foundation in the faith and getting to preach that message, and it's nice that we all connected in that, and it doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah. With that being said, what do you see as the main mission of North Catholic today?
Main mission, develop Christ-centered students to go out in the world and spread the good news, but then also model and represent what North is, and being the young scholars that you guys, most of you are.
Yeah. As this outing provides benefits to students who might not be able to afford North Catholic, how important is that aspect, as Catholic education might not always be affordable? How important is it to make it affordable through this outing?
So Catholic education should be for everyone, right?
Yeah.
And just like you said, like not everyone can afford that. So the things that we do here today, the things we do at the gala, give a chance for someone who is not as financially well off to give them the opportunity to experience what we're doing at North Catholic.
Yeah.
So I'd say, it's crucial for those who may not be as financially well off.
Yeah. And lastly, golf question. How are you feeling about today? You going to play good?
Well, I'm glad it's a scramble. My guys will take care of me. So I just tell them, get me to the green. I'll take care of the rest.
If it was just you playing solo, would you break 100 today?
No. I haven't broken 100 yet.
Okay.
So I don't anticipate today's going to be the day to start.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Benson.
All right, guys. Thank you.
For our podcast today, we thank both of them for their time. We thank you for listening. Our first episode with 3 people on the mic, Callie Martis, Ryan Berry, and myself, Alex Brown, as we had a great time, and we look forward to doing these again here in the coming weeks. And
that's all. We got a lot of sports talk to cover today, and good time span as well. Got done pretty quickly, but
playoffs coming up.
Hopefully, some wins coming for the football team and all the rest of the teams. And hockey season starting now.
Hockey season starts next week.
We got a lot of sports to talk about. We thank you all for listening. Remember, we are your one-stop podcast for everything North Catholic athletics.